Hi, how are you guys doing today? Ready to have some fun? Ready to get up and have some hands-on activity and not just a boring presentation? So, like he said, my name is Onika Williams. I am the training and compliance manager for the Orlando and Jacksonville markets. And one of the things that we are passionate about is making sure that we're helping facilities with learning the life-saving skills. One of the things that we are passionate about when we're doing our first aid, our classes that we do, is we're educating all of our students, making sure they know the things that they need to look for, making sure what they know what they need to do to help in an emergency. So the training that we provide makes sure that our students are being able to help people responsibly, making sure that they're understanding the difference between a sudden cardiac arrest, between a heart attack. Those are vital things that you know so that you know how to act and react when you're doing those things. And it's not bad if you don't or can't articulate what you need to do. People often use the terms cardiac arrest and heart attack interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. In the US, someone in the US dies of cardiovascular disease every 34 seconds. So roughly about 2 people every minute. Someone in the US also suffers from a stroke every 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Part of the training that we do with CINTAS is we're making sure that our students know what the signs to look for to stop if someone is having a stroke, if someone's having a heart attack, if someone's having a cardiac disease. If you're going through something like that, you want to make sure that your coworker knows what signs to look for and how to help you so that you make it home to your family the next day, correct? That's something that's important to all of you, I'm sure. 90% of employees, if their workplace offered CPR training, would want to be part of it. They want to know what to do in those emergencies. They want to know how to react in those emergencies. 70% of Americans were polled, and they say they feel helpless if an emergency happens in front of them. So in the event of a cardiac arrest in the workplace, having an AED on site, having people that are AED and CPR certified makes a difference in life and death. The American Heart Association did a survey, and employees have said that if their employer sponsored a CPR AED class or a first aid training course, they're going to be more likely to take it so that they know what to do if there's those emergencies, so that they can help their coworkers, they can help their family, they can help people in the workplace. Most Americans feel that if they were to just react or be able to know how to administer CPR, they're going to be able to do it and help save someone's life. Brain death begins within 4 to 6 minutes if there's not if CPR or a defibrillator is not applied to the person that has gone down. So making sure that if someone drops right next to you, you're able to at least start CPR if there's not an AED available before the paramedics and fire get there is more than likely going to help save that person to where they're going to be able to go home to their family. Waiting for the arrival of medical personnel usually results in a 5 to 7% rate of survival. If CPR is administered within the first 2 minutes of someone going into cardiac arrest, you're going to see a 90% increase on those statistics. One of the statistics that the American Heart Association has noticed is that men are 45% more likely to receive CPR from a bystander than women are. CINTAS is one of the largest training facilities for the American Heart Association. Every year we train over 400,000 people. That's a lot of people when you think of how many people are in different workplaces or anything like that. Being able to say that we're responsible for over 400,000 people a year being trained is a big plus. We know what we're doing. We're trained to make sure that our classes are fun. We make sure that all of the information that needs to be given is given in a way that they enjoy it. They want to do it again. And it doesn't seem as if it's a long, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. No, we're making it hands-on. We're making it fun. We talked about how men are 45% less likely, or 45% more likely to receive CPR than women. We are one of the only places where you're going to see that female attachment on a mannequin. You're going to get that hands-on activity on seeing what it's like and the different placement of your hands when you're doing CPR. We offer the one-on-one training with the mannequins. Every student that's in our classes has a mannequin that has the feedback on it, letting them know if they're doing the compressions deep enough, if they're doing them fast enough. I'm sure a lot of you have heard when you're doing CPR, you do it to the tune of Staying Alive, and that Bee Gees song gets playing in your head. The feedback light on our mannequins keeps that beat for you. It flashes red and green. It's gonna flash green if you're doing your compressions deep enough. It's gonna flash green if you're doing them at the proper speed. So it's letting the students know right off the bat while they're doing it that they're doing it correctly. We also make sure that we bring in an AED that's similar to the AEDs at your facility, so that everyone's making sure they know how to use that AED that's there, and they're not gonna feel as if, oh wait, I don't know how to use the AED that's on the wall. We're bringing in that AED and letting them have that real-time practice on making sure they know where the pads get placed on a person's body, making sure they know how to plug it in, how to turn it on. Am I supposed to stop doing compressions so that the AED gets on? We take care of teaching all of that and making sure that they're comfortable with all of that. We run you through those scenarios where we put the AED outside the room and make you act as if someone has gone down, and you're pointing out one person saying, hey, you with the black hat, can you go get the AED? You with the blue hat, can you call 911 for me? We run through that scenario with every single student to make sure that they're comfortable if that real life scenario happens. We also offer bleed control training. In our bleed control training, we're making sure that you know what to do if someone has that major bleed. Why do we encourage it in the workplace? The number one cause of preventable deaths after an injury is the loss of blood. A worker will die every 111 minutes from a work-related injury. These are statistics from 2020. Trauma is the number one cause of death for Americans between the ages of 1 and 46. And then more than 192 people in the United States lose their lives due to trauma every year. It's better to be able to know what to look for and what to expect and how to stop it so that you're not part of those statistics. And those are the things that we make sure that students know in our bleed control trainings. In the course, we go over how to identify those life-threatening bleeds. We go over the proper use of tourniquets. How many of you guys have seen the new tourniquets that are in the first aid kits? They look like, Ania has one in the back. It's got the twisty and making sure you know, it's like the military grade tourniquet. ANSI updated the requirements for first aid kits to make sure that it's the highest grade tourniquet that's available in the kits. We make sure that you get that hands-on training on learning how to use it and get it attached to someone. And we bring out an arm that actually bleeds, and you're trying to stop that bleed in the class. We're making sure that you know that you're getting that hands-on practical use of it, not just saying, oh, here's a tourniquet, let's put it on and then we're done. That's something that we're gonna have available for you guys. We're gonna show you guys how to do that today. We go over proper packing of a wound. If someone has a gunshot wound, or if someone walks into something where they just start gushing blood from a part of their body, we show you how to properly pack that wound and make sure it stays packed and applying the pressure to get the bleeding to stop until emergency personnel can be there. We go over the proper places to place the tourniquets, the proper places where wound packing is what's the necessity. We focus on those life-threatening bleeds that are in the legs and the arms using the tourniquets, or you're applying the direct pressure on if it's in their trunk area, or if it's a head injury because someone has fainted or anything like that. The first time I did our bleed control training, I pulled out the tourniquet and I asked people in the class, where do you think you don't put a tourniquet if someone's bleeding? We just went over different parts of the body, and I said, if someone's bleeding from their head, do you use a tourniquet or do you don't, or do you not? Someone was like, yeah, you put it around their neck. No, you do not put it around their neck. If someone's bleeding from their head, you just want to start packing that wound and making sure that you're stopping that bleed. You're getting that pressure applied to it. You're only using that tourniquet on their arms and their legs. We also offer fire safety. How many of you guys know how to properly use a fire extinguisher? How many of you guys know which fire extinguisher to use for different fires? That's something that people don't think about. It's something that we do. In our classes, we talk about just basic housekeeping standards, things to look for to make sure that things are safe so a fire isn't being started. We make sure that people understand the components that can create a fire. We talk about the different classes of fire and what types of fire extinguishers you want to make sure that you're using. We go through every single part of the fire extinguisher, making sure they're comfortable with it. And we make sure we demonstrate how to do the pass method and then review the events, and they get the hands-on getting to try putting out a fire with a fire system. We also make sure that each person is confident, and sometimes we make it, when we're trying out those fire extinguishers, we make it a race. So I have one customer who we time each of the participants and see who can get the fastest time for bragging rights. I mean, who doesn't want to be the one that can go back, that can mess with their coworkers and be like, I can do it 10 seconds faster than you can. We make it fun, and we make it a competition, and that's what makes our classes fun and makes it to where it doesn't seem as if, oh, I got to go through that again. No, I'm excited. I want to beat my time from last year. You want to make sure that you're having fun with it. There's 5 different classes of fire extinguishers, so we go over each of the different classes, making sure that people know this is what you use to put out this fire, this is what you use to put out that fire. But it also educates people to see, oh wait, we have those things in our building. We don't have that class of fire extinguisher. Maybe that's something we need to make sure that we get. That's all part of fire training that you want to make sure that you're offering to your employees, because you don't want to have to worry about, oh, how am I going to rebuild this facility if it burns down? Did you guys know, depending on the size of the fire extinguisher, depends on how long you have to put out a fire before that fire extinguisher runs out of the necessary components in it with the active ingredients to put out a fire. The smaller fire extinguishers, you have about 7 seconds. The medium-sized fire extinguishers, you have about 14 seconds. And the larger fire extinguishers, you have about 22 to 26 seconds. So that's why it's important to know how to use those fire extinguishers so you can get control or possibly put out a fire before it spreads while you're waiting for the fire department to get there, so that you're not going to have that large-scale loss of your space or valuables or anything like that. We go through, like I said, the pass method, pulling on the fire extinguisher, pulling the needle out of it, aiming, squeezing, and sweeping, knowing the proper way that you have to sweep with the fire extinguisher. We have introduced what's called our VR system. It kind of looks like an Oculus, where you put it on and there's different scenarios you can choose from. And you go through with that scenario, it's going to show you what scenario you're in, and then it shows you 3 different fire extinguishers for you to choose from. So there's a kitchen fire. You have to choose and make sure you pick which fire extinguisher is the right thing to put out a kitchen fire. You grab the extinguisher, then you aim, and you do the pass method to get it out, and it times you and shows you how long it takes you to do it. We Skype it onto a screen, so while the one person is on the Oculus doing it, everybody in the class can see what they're doing. And you can be like, dude, you're grabbing the wrong fire extinguisher. You got to aim this. You can help them along, but you can also kind of see what's going on to see how it is. We have pallet fires. We have a crane fire. We have an auto fire. There's different scenarios to choose from, so you can cater it to your group and the things that you may see in everyday life on it. So all of the things that I just said, we have all of those here for you guys to kind of get some hands-on practice and play with and everything like that. The VR fire system is really fun because it's like a video game, but you're putting out a fire and everything like that. And then the bleed control, we can time you to see how long it takes you to put on that tourniquet. And then we've got our mannequins with our AED set up and everything like that. Do any of you have any questions about any of the things that we do? Are you guys ready to have some fun and do some hands-on? So it's going to take me a second to turn on the VR system, but we're going to have the VR system set up so you guys can come and try out the VR system and kind of see some of the different things with it, ask any questions about it and everything like that. We've got one of our bleed control arm and for the packing and everything that you guys can try out, and then also our CPR mannequin and everything, so you can see kind of what we bring into the classes for employees to use and everything. So come and let's have some fun and do some hands-on with it.